and welcome to the Forbes India Cover Story podcast series in association with theindicast.com. My name is Abhishek, and this issue's cover talks about a personality who appears to be larger than life on the screen. It's on Virat Kohli, his life on or mostly off the field as a brand and as an entrepreneur is what Rajiv Singh covers in his story. He is there with me on the other line. Hi, Rajiv.
Hi, Abhishek. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Rajiv, what was the trigger for doing a cover on Virat, no less an article, given that the man doesn't often give interviews to journalists from India as such?
That precisely was the trigger, Abhishek. You yourself nailed it. It's very rare to get Virat Kohli agree for an interview, and that to Indian media. So, given this opportunity, anybody would have grabbed it.
And what did you set out to cover? We all know that Virat Kohli endorses every other brand going. What was the angle to the story?
That's why the story was not about the brands endorsed by Virat, but about the brand Virat himself and brand 18, which is his own brand co-created with Puma.
So let's go back a little bit, Rajiv. During the time when Sachin, who was India's first big sports star, he had cracked a deal, 100 crore deal at the time. We won't talk numbers, inflation adjusted, it's just gone way out of proportion. But how have things changed since then as compared to that era and this one?
You know, the only big visible difference that you can see from his era and what is happening now is earlier, all great cricketers you can name anybody, MS Dhoni, Sachin Tendulkar, or anybody for that matter, they focused on endorsing brands. They never focused on building their own brand. And whenever they tried building a brand, it was towards the fag end of their career.
And when you say own brand, it's a brand that you see, touch, feel, or maybe it's a restaurant or a product that you can buy off the shelf. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, a brand which is created by you, which you have designed it, you have styled it, you are deeply involved in making of the brand. So it's not only being the face of the brand, but you are the soul of the brand because the brand exists because of you. They do have their own individual brands. I think Seven is with Dhoni and Tendulkar too has his own brand. You see, the idea is when you start your own brand, you do it early in your life, cricketing life. You don't do it towards the end of your career when you have only 3 or 4 years left in your career. You don't start doing that. Look at Michael. Look at Jordan. What Jordan did with Nike back in 1984. Both Jordan and Nike realized that there is huge potential in the co-created brand which they can build and which eventually happened. But you need to give time. And time is starting at the right time. And this is what Virat Kohli was all about, timing. Whether it's cricket or it's entrepreneurship, he made it very clear. It's all about timing. You have to time everything to perfection.
When did Virat Kohli dive into the idea? He's been around since 2008 when he made his debut for India in one-day internationals. When did he begin and what was the trigger for him?
See, when he signed that 8-year deal with Puma, 100 crore deal sometime in 2016, that was the genesis of the idea. So when I was having a word with Puma India head Abhishek Ganguly, he told me that people thought that the deal was only for endorsing Puma, but it was much more than that. And that time both brand as well as Virat Kohli didn't want to divulge much because nothing was in the concrete shape. But the idea was very clear that both of them had to do something together. And next year, just 1 year into the deal, 18 was born, which is the number of the jersey that Virat wears, 18.
Puma seems to have put its money where its mouth is in that, correct me if I'm wrong, it dedicates some 20% space to 18 products on Puma's showrooms across India, or at least the select ones. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Imagine the speed at which 18 has grown in India in just 1 year, crossing 100 crores. Tells you the entire story. How many years Puma individually would have taken to log that kind of growth? Come Virat Kohli and this happens within a year. And there is no looking back.
They're looking at a turnover of some 4,000 crores in due course. So will Kohli take the concept of branding well beyond celebrity endorsement, maybe in the league of a Roger Federer or a Cristiano Ronaldo equivalent in India, you think?
See, if anybody in India has a chance to replicate that kind of success you're talking about, it's only Virat Kohli. Nobody can come closer to Kohli when it comes to taking the brand to that kind of level. So he's perfect when it comes to playing all kind of strokes in cricket. He's perfect when it comes to taking decisions on the field, but off the field as well in entrepreneurship. He has had a Midas touch.
When we talk about or read about risks and that these entrepreneurs do take them, now he's a cricketer turned entrepreneur. How does he approach business?
The same approach. He doesn't change himself for business. So whatever he does in cricket, he has a huge risk-taking appetite. He's aggressive on field, he's aggressive off field. He doesn't change his character, his DNA to become a businessman. So it's like a very seamless transition he makes whenever he wants to don the hat of a businessman and whenever he wants to don the hat of a cricketer. So it's as if it's part and parcel of his personality.
Times have changed in that the avenues to make money have they increased multifold? You didn't have, let's say, Instagram or Twitter, where if you go through Virat Kohli's Twitter feed, it looks like a sponsor board, perhaps because every other tweet is about has a brand and he gets paid for it. So how much have things changed in terms of avenues to make money?
Definitely, things have changed drastically in terms of how you can make money and what are the different ways in which you can mint money. But one thing, Abhishek, we have to be very clear: what has not changed is the brand. What are the attributes of a brand? Virat Kohli is a brand. If people are paying him to post something on Instagram, there is a reason behind it. There is a method in the madness. He's got a huge following, and huge following comes not only by talking big, but by scoring big. He has performed. He's loud in terms of his performance as well.
I think it was Alan Border who had said that you take care of the runs, money will take care of itself. So you keep performing on the field, money will follow. And when it comes to Virat Kohli, it's big money. You write that for an Instagram post, he earns around $1,96,000 every Instagram post. That's quite staggering. So brands do believe that it's worth the money.
Absolutely. And he still has got a good 6 years, 6 to 7 years left in him, a good 6 to 7 years of cricketing life left in him.
He's among the fittest in the world in terms of durability or endurance. He'll be there longer than some others from the previous generation.
And that's precisely the reason why these guys have launched 1-8 Kids Wear. Because see, at the end of the day, you have to hang your boots one day, however late that might be. But when you do that, you have the second generation or the next generation ready to latch up to your brand and product. This is what the idea is of Kids Wear targeted to 4 and 14 years old guys.
So how does Puma look at all of this? They are betting big on one person. Whatever he does on the field reflects how popular he will be off it. So whether it's a slump or whether it's a controversy, some heroes in the past have fallen.
But that's always true for any big celeb across the world. If you live by the celeb, then you will have to die by the celeb. That's the rule of the game. You can't change the rule of the game. Imagine what happened to Tiger Woods. One controversy and then people started dissociating. But the end is they also benefited out of him. So that's the rule of the game, that any brand, any celeb you're associated with, the good and the bad both will hit you.
Right. And final one, Rajiv, you said you had a chance to meet him in person for a good while. So how does he come across face to face? Of course, you were a journalist, so he will put his best foot forward. But what was the experience of interviewing him? What are some of the things that struck you?
A man who speaks from his heart, absolutely from his heart. People from outside, he might appear to be arrogant. He might appear to have attitude. But whatever time I spent interacting with him, he was absolutely anything but arrogant. He's very sorted mentally, he's very blunt, and he speaks his mind.
That makes your job easier, doesn't it? He's quite quotable, eloquent.
Absolutely. You don't need to make an effort to get anything out of him. He knows what to talk and how to talk.
Right. Urging all the listeners to pick this issue up. And Rajiv, thanks a lot for your time on this.
Thanks a lot, Abhishek. Great talking to you again, man.
Great, thank you so much. And all your listeners, get this podcast on ForbesIndia.com and on iTunes. And to have someone call you for a Forbes India subscription, message Forbes to 51818.